When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Beyond Sports. It is Hannah Stanley here with you, like I am every weekend. I love the ability to do this show and get to learn right alongside you. And it is the first of the month. If you've been here with us one beginning of the month or many, you know that this year we have done a series with Dr. Raj Dasgupta. This is just like all the other first weekends of the month where Dr. Raj comes and visits us. Dr. Raj, thank you so much. You are a medical doctor, for those who don't know. You specialize in about 1,000 things. Much of it is pulmonary, and educating and working with interns and residents and new doctors as well, which I've always admired, because you're so knowledgeable across the board, not just in your own specialty.
Well, Hannah, your intro only gets better and better. Like,
I work on it all
my ego
month.
was yay big. Now I need to open my door because my ego is kind of squeezing out the door now, dude.
You're welcome. Your wife, Michelle, I'm sure, is going to text me later with her gratitude as well. Never mind the fact that she is also a doctor.
She is.
Yeah. So here's the thing. On the news, I feel like the last 5, almost 6 years, we've been hearing this one word over. And I thought we were over it. And here it comes again, viruses. We are not going to talk about the COVID. We're done with that. We're done talking. We're not done with it.
I'm totally done, dude.
We're done talking about it, is what I'm saying. Hopefully forever. But we have so many viruses that are in the news that have piqued my interest. And I'm a curious person. So I reached out and said, Dr. Raj, can we talk about, I said particular ones, and you're like, we have too many. Let's just lump those all together. So the one that's in the news a lot, and it was a few years ago, and now it's making its way back, measles. So what is going on with measles, and why are people afraid of this? I feel like this is something that my parents' generation and their parents' generation super nervous about measles. Then we were like, whatever, measles, because you get the MMR, right? That's what we used to do. I don't know what's going on with measles. Why are they back in the news?
Well, they're back in the news because there's a new HBO show on Max called The Pit. And if you haven't watched it, not a big deal, but they had an episode about measles. And, the minute you make it on a mainstream TV show, of course, you know what I mean? We're going to talk more about it. And what scares me is exactly what you said. I thought this was a thing of the past, a thing of kids. And there are outbreaks, and I did say that word. There are outbreaks that are occurring right now, which is why we're talking about this. So, hey, for your listeners, if I make this a little dorky, I apologize. That measles is otherwise known as rubiola. Okay. And it is a viral infection that we usually think about for kids, but it's easily preventable. It is why you get vaccinated. And vaccines are spicy to talk about nowadays. So how do we spread this? Is that it's spread through respiratory droplets, just means, are you coughing? Are you sneezing? And how do I know that someone has measles? It's hard because I'm not waiting for the rash. So what are the classic symptoms? I love it because if I was teaching a med school class, they call it the 3 C's: cough, conjunctivitis, and coryza. And all you people will say, what's a coryza? It's just a runny nose, man. Call it what it is. But you know who has a cough, runny nose, and inflamed eyes? Me. So you can't really You can't distinguish it from anything else until you get the rash. Then once you get the rash, it's a little late. So let me just throw the big things out there. Number one, adults can get measles. Adults can get measles. And when you get it, that's when you get a lot of these complications. And so should I go in it now, Hannah? Should I talk about what those complications are and why they're getting it? Or do you want me to pull back a little bit?
No, I think it's good that we go into just a little bit of the overview because I don't know what the complications are for measles. If I get a virus, half the time I go to the doctor, I go, "Hey, I don't know what's going on." They go, "You have a virus," and they send me on my way. So if this is a virus, what's the difference between measles and just a common everyday quote unquote virus?
Oh, definitely. So, usually it just stomps if you're vaccinated and your immune system's off, is nice and healthy with what we just talked about, the cough and the runny nose. But like I said, as you get older, so let's focus on the adults. You can definitely get some respiratory complications and oh boy, but why are adults getting it? I think number one is going to be there are these vaccine gaps. And you mentioned MMR, but you know what? Many adults has only got one dose of it and you need two, which tells me, hey, just talk to your doctor to find out how many, doses do you need? Also, who should be a little more diligent about it? If your immune system's weakened because unfortunately you're on, you have cancer, you're on cancer therapy, you have a rheumatological disease, hey, ask those questions like, hey, am I up to date with some of these things? And when we talk about, the complications, oh man, you could get a pretty nasty pneumonia infection in your lung from it. You could get inflammation of the brain. That just sounds horrible. You definitely don't want that. And in adults, sometimes if you're not doing well, man, I've seen you in the ICU and there are some pretty bad outcomes over there. So I really, really just think like when it comes down to it, to what's the informing thing is that if you're an adult and you were born in 1957, if you were born after 1957, be careful. You could ask your doctor, like, hey, check my antibodies against, what's it called, the measles. Do I have some? If you don't, then you definitely should get the vaccine. If you're into that kind of thing. And when you get the vaccine, it's 2 doses, and the 2 doses need to be separated by a month. You know what I mean? So I want to say one last thing before we put this to rest, is that measles is a live vaccine, which means that we are putting little parts of the virus to stimulate your immune system. So you want to make sure it's safe to give it to you. And of course, if you're someone who's going to be pregnant, if you're someone whose immune system stinks to begin with, this wouldn't be the vaccine for you. So always discuss with your healthcare provider.
Okay, so earlier you said if you're weakened immune, like if you're going through cancer treatment, this is maybe something you want to be aware of, but definitely something to talk to your doctor about because it might not be the right timing for you to get this, even though you could be at risk. Okay.
100%. You got it.
Okay. And there are people, again, you said it perfectly. Vaccines are a spicy topic. This is not what we're going to get into. Because there's so much, this is such a robust thing to learn about, these viruses in general. But always, this is not medical advice. Always talk with your doctor. Dr. Raj happens to be one of my doctors. He's my guy. So I'm talking to him. That's different. That's not for you. So that's super important because measles, in my mind, I was like, measles was like an old timey thing, right? We read about it in golden books. That's the kind of thing. Now, all of a sudden, it's making this resurgence. So I'm glad we're talking about it. But you're right. It sounds so similar to what I might have right now. I got kind of a weird cough and a runny-ish nose. But that's also, like you got allergies.
And then by the time you see the rash, am I even thinking about measles near 2025? And if I delay that diagnosis, who else just got infected? And now that we're not dosing, our kids in school, that gets a little scary because who loves to hug kids? My mom, the grandma, the grandpa, you know what I mean?
Each other.
Probably already had a weakened immune system. And how do kids spread it? Cough, sneeze. And you know what happens, Hannah? When your kid's sick, they want to snuggle with you. You know what I mean?
They do. And you know what else? Kids at school, I understand it's, we're just getting back into school, but man, they hug each other all the time. They're high-fiving.
Yeah.
They're doing all kinds of stuff. That's why during the pandemic, that was a hard thing, was to keep kids from touching each other.
Exactly.
They're a loving group. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got measles,
Yep.
and then I know we're like, this is the beginning of influenza season, which we can talk about in a second. But I will tell you, my daughter happened to get her flu shot on her birthday, which is in mid-September. And 13 days later, she was the beta case for the county. She was the first case of flu for the county. So I know we're coming into that. And I was like, but she just got her flu shot. And they said it takes 14 days. And she's obviously got this on like day 11. So it is something to consider that we are coming into that time. And we can talk about this if we have enough time. The other one that weirdly became newsworthy, not that it's not newsworthy, but it became a topic of news. Hantavirus. This was the stuff of urban legends. You got to wash your soda cans because of this. But it's real.
Yeah. So why did hantavirus come in the news? For me, it's got to be, God bless his soul, Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman, and I never met the guy, but what I've heard, he had Alzheimer's dementia. My dad has Alzheimer's dementia. I heard through reading he had a wonderful wife, and she passed away from hantavirus. So, I believe they were in a region in the United States where they lived that had hantavirus,
which is the Southwest.
Something like that, and I think that's an important thing as a clinician. When you're not doing good, you have an infection of some kind, it's getting a good social history, a good geography history. You know what I mean? Like just the other day in our hospital, someone actually went to, I believe it was Vermont, and they got a tick bite. And I got to know exactly where they went, what they did. So sometimes it's good to be a nosy doctor to make the right diagnosis. So hantavirus is a virus, and it's not spread from human to human. It's actually spread from rodents, like rats, like mice. And how do people get it? When you're exposed to their urine, that's nasty, their droppings, that's nasty, and their saliva. Or maybe they bit you, maybe they scratched you, you know what I mean? So you got to look at the geography, and I kind of wrote this down so I won't forget. So people are going to ask me, well, what states should I be aware about? It's called the Four Corners region, which apparently makes up Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. And I think Gene and his wife were in one of those states.
They were in New Mexico.
Yeah, it was in New Mexico. Okay.
Yep.
And so, what happens is in some cases you get this hantavirus, and, your immune system's awesome. It kicks it out of its body. But there is something called, the hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. So pulmonary, that's me. I'm a pulmonologist, which means it could give you this rip-roaring pneumonia and infection in the lungs, and it could do a number on you, and you could end up on the ventilator. And sometimes you don't know when it's going to happen. And it is unfortunate that, Gene Hackman's wife got it. And I knew that because I watched the news and there was an evaluation of her post-mortem. And apparently because of that, it makes me so sad. No one took care of Gene Hackman, and he passed away. And wow. And I think, now we're more aware of it, which tells you that, hey, when you're not feeling well, tell your doctor where you go on vacation. Are you camping? Where do you live? All these factor in. There is no treatment for hantavirus. There is no vaccine for hantavirus. It's just supportive.
That's fascinating. So really, you have to be very protective of maybe your exposure to any of those droplets that you would get from rodents. But really, not super common, especially not for the vast majority of the country. Phew.
Yep.
Not great for those who have it, but also not something that just because it's on the news, we don't have to rush and say, I think I have hantavirus. All right.
I wouldn't pick up the rodents and start kissing him and hugging him or anything like that.
That's a general practice for me, is just to avoid that. That's one of my mantras, is don't pick up the rodents. Okay. But one of the other things I hear on television, this is like a Mythbusters Dr. Raj edition. Like things I see and hear on television, the commercial we see the most is what? Shingles doesn't care. What shingles is a virus, yeah? And why doesn't it care? And
So,
where
all
do we
right,
get it
I'm
from?
pumped on this. So let me go dorky medical. So the virus is called varicella zoster. Varicella is known as chickenpox, okay? And when we were kids, a lot of us have been exposed to it. A lot of people had chickenpox, but varicella is part of the herpes family. And we know all
Okay.
these herpes viruses, they love to just kind of, once you get the infection, they sleep in your body forever and ever. So when you got varicella, which is the chicken pox, it likes to hang out in your body. And later in life, when you get stressed, both physically, mentally, you name it, it comes back as zoster. Even though it's the same virus, there are two different clinical presentations, varicella and there's zoster. And zoster is also known as the shingles. So let
Okay.
me just say this, everyone. Let's talk only about chickenpox for 1 second. You need to be vaccinated. So when we're kids, just like measles, we used to all get the MMR, and we
Right.
used to get the varicella vaccine, the chickenpox vaccine. There is one, and it's 2 doses when you're a kid. But if you've never got chickenpox and you're an adult, dude, get vaccine for varicella, because once again, hugging and snuggling your grandkids, you can get it, especially if your immune system is going to be weak. And for kids, if you wait till you see the rash, you're already infected before that rash even comes up. And it's very, very easy to transmit, coughing and sneezing, all the things we talked about with measles. So now let's talk about zoster.
Okay.
So there is a zoster vaccine, and I'm sure some of your listeners know what I'm talking about with zoster. It's kind of like you're just doing your thing, and it's this painful, painful rash, medical terminology, in a dermal tonal distribution where it follows the nerves of your body.
That sounds
And
awful.
yeah, and you can just see it like on your back in certain distributions, and it hurts like the freaking Dickens. So
That's the medical
what are
term. The
yeah, well, I just
Dickens.
wanted to say something old school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
So
appreciate that.
there is a zoster vaccine. There was an original zoster vaccine. I thought it by the name Zostavax, which was a live vaccine. But now we have a non-live vaccine. It goes by the brand name Shingrix. It's 2 doses. And let me just kind of like read it out, man. If you're an adult and you're 50 years of age or older, and especially if you didn't have a prior episode of chickenpox or anything like that, you need to get vaccinated with Shingrix. It's FDA approved. If you're younger than 50, if you're someone who's going to be on these medications for things like rheumatoid arthritis or immune system sucks, you could definitely be on it if you're going to be younger than 50 years of age and your immune system's not going to be good. So those are some take-home messages right there.
Okay, so let's say it's very common now to have kids have that chicken pox vaccine. So they would conceivably never have chicken pox. So then the virus it doesn't go dormant in their system. So since it was never introduced to their system, there is no chance they'll get shingles. Is the math mathing?
No, so
Dude,
I am worried about it now because of a couple things.
Okay.
Number one is that just like some parents are not given the MMR.
Sure.
That's kind of around the same time. You're given that varicella chickenpox vaccine. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's the same risk factors. But definitely, if you've never had it, chickenpox when you're young, you can get it when you're older. You know what I mean? So you could start off with chickenpox when you're older, and the adult can get the 2 doses of the chickenpox vaccine 4 weeks apart when they're older. But the zoster, let's say you don't recall having it, you know what I mean, or whatnot, you can still get the zoster vaccine, even if you had nothing, whether you had chickenpox, didn't have chickenpox, you can get the zoster.
So you can have the vaccine, but is there an opportunity for you, if you don't ever have the chickenpox virus, will shingles care? Shingles doesn't care, but will it occur in your body?
So you're listing the perfect scenario. You are correct. Great job,
Okay.
Hannah.
Thank you.
It's the same virus. So if you never had the chickenpox, then you can't get the zoster. But sometimes, you know what I mean? Let's say you had varicella, but you didn't even realize you had it because you didn't get the whole chicken pox. That could lead into, what's it called? Zoster in itself. So play it safe. Play it safe. You know what I mean? To get the zoster vaccine, you don't need to prove or not prove you had chickenpox in the past. You can just get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want people to realize there's two vaccines. There's the varicella and there's the zoster.
One is for the chickenpox, which you can get as an adult. Zoster is for shingles, which you would only get as an adult, right? Because you wouldn't need it as a child. Okay. Yeah. So shingles doesn't care, but we got that out of the way. So we've clipped. Here's what's going on. I'm Hannah Stanley. He's Dr. Raj Dasgupta. And today is Virus 101, which is definitely not what you guys would learn in medical school for virology 101. But we are talking about a couple of things. We've already hit measles. We've talked about hantavirus, which is really rare. You're going to get it in kind of a corner of the country, but definitely like the Southwest area. And which leads me to a whole bunch of other questions about how it doesn't matter. But basically you get it from rodents. Okay, fine. Not just an urban legend that we all thought about when we first started getting email. Then we talked about chickenpox and shingles. Fascinating. Totally. That was a rite of passage to get chickenpox.
Yeah, did you get chickenpox? Did you get chickenpox?
I did. I was older. I was 12, which felt pretty old because all my friends had already had it. But then we went through that weird phase where everybody was having chickenpox parties. Like, one kid would have it, and then the moms would like throw a little party so they could all get it. And then we moved into this chickenpox.
OMG.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was not during.
Oh my God.
That was when I was in college. And then now there's a vaccine for it. Again, talk to your own physician and pediatricians to figure out what is right for you and your family and your children.
Yep.
But couple things. Oh shoot. This time goes so fast when we talk about these things.
This by super fast. So what do you want to do? Do you want to do a little flu or a little RSV? What do you want to do? You tell me.
Let's do RSV because that is another one that like I had never heard of until I had my kids. And then when your kids are in the NICU, they show you these horrendous videos of how RSV can ruin lives and cause death.
Totally.
In infants, but then now again on television, right? I really I don't know. I need to switch to exclusively podcasts, but RSV is now everywhere and is a huge risk factor for our elderly and those who are immune suppressed or have other risk factors. So let's talk about, and this is like right in your wheelhouse because it starts with respiratory.
No, totally.
Yeah. So let's get into RSV and what people need to know.
All right, quick bullet point. So I know we joked about, hey, COVID-19 is not there, but, just to be Debbie Downer, there's still SARS-CoV-2.
Yeah,
I just want to say it, you know what I mean? But I am burnt out by talking about it. Yeah. But the same things you're going to do to not get RSV, to not get a lot of viruses, you're going to do the same thing not to get COVID-19, okay? But RSV, why do I even care so much about it? My young daughter, I love her so much. When she was like 2-3 years of age, she got hospitalized for RSV. So like many things that we talked about today, we used to think it was only a disease of kids. And people who get RSV, kids, they're like 1 year of age. They're really young, you know what I mean? But what do we know now is that, we love our kids. We are next to them and, our population is getting older. So grandma and grandpa and the older folks are getting RSV. So RSV now has a vaccine, and there are two big vaccines out there. There's one called Arexvy, which is actually I think it's made by GSK Pharmaceuticals, who also makes the Shingrix vaccine, and it's going to be a vaccine that you can take for right now. At least the guidelines are kind of like, if you're going to be 75 years of age and older, everyone should get it. If you're younger than 75, kind of like that 60 to 75, and your immune system sucks, you got heart and lung disease, you can get it at an earlier age. There's another manufacturer that makes an RSV vaccine that got FDA approval to give it to pregnant women during the third trimester. And I just wanted to say that because, we don't want kids like my daughter to to end up in hospitals, But how can you get this vaccine to them when they're so young? What we do know is that if you give it to mom's antibodies go to the fetus. You know what I mean? So now we could actually give mom a vaccine in the third trimester to protect the kids. And that's just pretty awesome. And that just makes me really happy. And I hope that it didn't get to benefit my little girl Sadie, but hopefully it could help other kids out there. So I think it's important once again to just talk to your doctor and say, hey, this is my problems. I have lung disease, I have COPD, I have asthma, I have whatever it is. What do you recommend? What should I be updated with? And of course, I'm a big proponent of vaccines, but you need to ask, hey, what are the risks? What are the benefits? Is there really going to be something you feel would benefit me? And make your decision.
Right. This is interesting too with that trimester, because RSV, there is a season, if I am not, where it can spike, right? Much like cold and flu season, although colds can happen anytime. But flu, like we're in that fall winter, the dry stage. How is RSV transmitted? Same like the others?
Oh yeah, man. So when I categorize viruses for my medical students, it's kind of interesting. SARS-CoV-2, influenza virus, and RSV are all part of the same family. We call those single-stranded RNA viruses. No one needs to know that except me. So it tells me they do the same stuff, which is, remember back in pandemic days, we call that the triple demic or something like that. They were all kind of like at the same time.
Yes.
So yeah, it's coughing and sneezing, respiratory droplets, and all those things. And that's why those are the big three viral things that I tell my folks, because I'm a lung doctor. You may want to get those vaccines because you may need those.
You might, but before we run out of time, we've got like 4 minutes left, which is ridiculous. We are coming into cold and flu season. So the precautions, which we're going to talk about, because everybody like ramps up their use of Purell and their awareness of where they are and who they're near and who's coughing around them. You should see my ears. They actually physically like perk up and turn if I hear someone kind of hacking. I'm so conscientious of this now. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're coughing. But what we are told over and over again, washing our hands for 20 seconds, making sure that we're like, if we're not feeling well, we don't even say social distancing. We're just kind of staying home or like if you can work from home, work from home. Just try to protect others and protect ourselves from those who have these germs. What does washing our hands do? I know it kills the virus or kills germs. How is that working? Is it just like, soap, and it's like the Wicked Witch where, I'm melting?
That's so funny. So we could go super dorky on here, but I like what you said is using some common sense. When you say wash your hands, are you talking about with these alcohol-based products? Mm-hmm. Are you talking about soap and water? And it really depends on what you're trying to kill. And that applies to being in the hospital too. I mean, there are certain bacterial infections that you can't kill with just the alcohol, and certain things you can. When we talk about viruses in particular, when they had all this soap, it really is based upon what the virus is surrounded by, which is going to be by a capsule that has proteins that could actually be destroyed by that shearing of the soap. You know what I mean? And then when you shear the capsule and the coating of the virus, then you can kind of disrupt that RNA or DNA a little bit. So there is some science behind it. You know what I mean?
I did a little research.
But I'll tell you one thing, I just came to the airport and I had two funny stories. You go to the bathroom as a dude, and dudes' bathrooms are so disgusting. And you see many people leaving the bathroom not washing their hands. That's just disgusting to begin with. You know what I mean? And then two, I'm like you, Hannah. When I'm on the plane, I got my masks like in my pocket. But I have my ears on radar to see, is anyone sniffing? Is anyone coughing? And then, of course, it's me. I get next to the person who's totally sick and coughing, runny nose. So then I had to take my mask out and put it on just because. Then I got the stare. I got the stare like I was So it just happens. But I want to bring this up because you're not alone out there, whoever's listening. It happens to everyone. You want to be careful. Just you use some common sense. And remember, all these viruses, it's not about just protecting yourself, it's just being nice to others,
It is. You don't know what other people have going on personally or at home or who they're exposed to, be it immune suppressed or just weakened immune systems. So it is something to be conscientious of. Like I said, flu season is about to kick off, and I know this because my daughter, she was like the beta case in my county. She was an overachiever then, she still is now. Dr. Raj Dasgupta, my guest, as he is the first weekend of every single month, and it is September. We're going to see you again in October. And then November and December, of course. But again, we've been talking today, I'm Hannah Stanley, FYI, about viruses. And so here's what we've covered. Shingles, RSV, chickenpox, shingles, same, but different. RSV, measles, hantavirus, and then flu. So everybody, wash your hands, take care of yourself. It's not just the one we're talking about. It's a lot going on. And there's things always moving around. It is Hannah Stanley. Thanks so much, Dr. Raj. We'll talk to you next month on Beyond Sports. I will talk to you next month.
Bye-bye.